one of the most important uses for macros is to let EES interact with other programs like Excel or MATLAB or Python. And this process can go in either direction. So for example, EES can send commands to the external program and take control of the process, sending and receiving data as needed. Alternatively, the external program can provide commands to EES. In either case, macro commands are needed for the process to work. So this video is going to show you how you can use EES to control Excel. So this is interacting with Excel from EES using a set of macro commands that are available specifically for this purpose. So these commands are shown here in this table, and if you look you can see that there's a bunch of commands here that are meant to allow you to do some of the basic things that you might want to do if you have an Excel spreadsheet and you want to take data from that spreadsheet, transfer it to EES, do some operations on it, and then send it back to the spreadsheets. So there's a bunch of commands here, and we can go through them just really briefly. They kind of fall into different categories. There's some commands that open Excel, so you can see file new and file open. Those would open up Excel. All of these commands start with Excel dot, right, just to be clear that it's an Excel file or an Excel command. There's commands to save and quit. So there's save as, and then there's Excel.quit down here. You can show Excel when you're doing the commands, or you can not show Excel, so that would be controlled with the show or the hide command. And then once you have Excel open and you have a certain worksheet open, you're going to want to do things like copy data from Excel and then put data back to Excel. So if you want to copy data from Excel, there's some useful commands to do that. So the copy command here, you give it a range and you can copy that to the clipboard and then paste it into EES. And then if you want to put stuff back into Excel, you can use Excel.cell here, which just puts things into one specific cell in Excel. Or if you want to, you can specify a range of cells using the Excel.range command here, and then use Excel.paste to paste everything that's in the clipboard into Excel. So I think the best way to illustrate these commands is to do a real simple example. So what I have here is a set of data, at least fictitious data, that show the temperature and the pressure of, in this case it would be R134A, so a refrigerant that is contained within a closed rigid volume as a function of time, right? So you could do all kinds of things with these data, but one thing you might want to do is just calculate the mass of refrigerant that is inside of this container, right? And to do that, it would be super convenient if you had all of the property routines that live inside of EES. So what we're going to do is build a little EES program that has a macro, and what the macro will do is we'll open this data file, so open this Excel file, copy these data into a parametric table in EES, calculate for every one of these data points the density and the mass, and then finally take that information, the mass information, and put it back into the Excel file, and then save the Excel file as a new name. And then just for good measure, we'll build a plot that we can look at the mass as a function of time. Okay, so let's start by just writing the EES program that will calculate the mass. So of course the first thing I got to do is set the unit system, so SI mass units. Let's see, let's use Celsius and kilopascal, since that's what the pressures are given in and the temperature and pressure is given in. And I'll set the refrigerant to be R134A. Oops, A. And I'll set the volume to be, I don't know, say 3.2 liters times convert from liters to meters cubed. And then I guess what I'm going to do is to calculate the density. So rho is equal to the density of my refrigerant at T equals T, and P equals P. And I'll have to get those here in a second. And then finally the mass is equal to the volume times the density. So I could just test this real quick, make sure it works. So T equals 30C, and P equals, I don't know, 300 kilopascals. And if I calculate, I should calculate the mass, and it's yeah, so 41.3 grams. So let's go ahead and make sure all our units are okay, which they are, and okay, so that part works. And then the next thing I got to do is write my macro. So I'll open my macro window, and let's see. I think what I have to do first is open the file, the Excel file. So let's see. Here's my Excel file. I know the name of the file and where it lives, so I will write excel.file open, and I put it in C:/ backslash, I think I called it Excel example backslash data dot xlsx, something like that. So that opens Excel. If I wanted to, I could show it so that I could see the operations, or if I don't do that, it'll just be hidden and the whole thing will take place sort of behind the scenes. So I'm probably not going to do that. The next thing I want to do is copy the data. So let's see. These data live from A3 to C23. So I'm going to do excel.copy, and the range is A3 to C23, like that. Okay. And the next thing I do is make a parametric table and paste the data into it. So let's make a table here. Let's see. I'm going to need, I think, 21 rows in my table. So table, new parametric table, 21. And I think what I'd like to put in my table is, if I go look at the data again, time, temperature, and pressure. So I don't have a variable called time, so I'm going to make a new variable, call it time, like that, and I'll add that, and then temperature, and then pressure. And then when I run the table, I'd like to calculate the mass. So I think that'll work like that. This has units of, I believe, minutes. So let's set that. All right, so what I want to do then is paste into the parametric table. So there's a paste command in EES, and then the keyword there is parametric, saying I want to paste into the parametric table. I have to give it the name of the table, so table 1, and I have to tell it where to start the paste process. So R1, C1. I want to start here at the first row in the first column, and it should fill in all of the rest of them. So hopefully that will work. The next thing I want to do is solve the table. So we'll do solve table. I gotta tell it which table. So table 1, and I want to do all the rows. So rows equal 1 dot dot 21. I'm not sure I need that. I think it would do all the rows by default, but that's okay. So hopefully that'll give me a solution for every single row, and now I need to take the solution and put it back into Excel. So I'm going to first of all copy that last column to the clipboard, and then once I've done that, I'll paste it into Excel. So I think the macro command is copy, and I want to copy from the parametric table. So copy parametric table, and the name of the table is table 1, and I want to copy the range that goes from R1 C4. So that's this guy right here, all the way down to I think it's R21 C4. So that's basically the last column. Alright, and then finally we'll shove it into Excel. So I'll do that using the range command. So we'll set the range in Excel to be, let's go look at that for a second. It's going to be D3 to D23. So D3 colon D23. So that just selects that range, and then once it's selected, I can do excel.paste. Paste. And finally, we'll do excel.file save as, and we'll save this as maybe a different file. Maybe it's the same name but with reduced appended to it to make it clear that I've now reduced my data. So reduced, like that. So one last thing that's kind of important is that I have to close Excel. So excel.quit. And if you don't do that, especially with Excel in hidden mode, you run into troubles where the file gets locked and you have to go figure out a way to unlock it. So hopefully this works. Let's get rid of that so that I don't get in trouble when I run my table. And yeah, I guess we'll give this a shot. So let's run it. So let's see, you can keep track of what's going on down here. Open the file, pasted, and it quit. Okay, so let's see, with luck, if I go to how to find it again, Excel example right here, I will have the file that I created. That's this one here, and if I open it, you can see that I have a column here which is the mass calculated in EES. Let's go ahead and maybe get rid of this and do one more thing here, which is I said I wanted to make a plot. So rather than figure out how to do that, I'm just going to record my macro commands and then come up here and do plots. We plot window, XY plot, and time is on the x-axis, mass is on the y-axis. We'll hit OK. And there's my plot of mass versus time. And if I look in my macro window, that's the command that does that. So let's stop recording. Maybe I'll go ahead and delete this plot, and we'll run the whole thing one more time. So this should be a quick and simple way to do this calculation for a set of data in Excel. And obviously I could just replace the name of the file and do the same thing for other data that I've collected. So here we run it. It does all the stuff we asked it to do and gives me that plot. So hopefully that makes sense.